Just in that one window right there, you're seeing a snake neck turtle, a side neck turtle, a soft shell turtle, an Asian box turtle, a map turtle from North America. It's all these species that normally you wouldn't get to like compare right next to each other, and you just get to see every different type of turtle there is in one spot. So you can really sit there and take it in and really understand like the complexity of all these different types of turtles and tortoises that are in the world.
Yeah, you see all the turtles of the world.
Yes. Yeah. We should name it something like that, I think.
Hey there, Podcast Aquanauts. It's your host, Casey here. Ben Franklin famously proclaimed that the only certain things in life are death and taxes. I think most people would agree that an extension to that wise sentiment could be, and baby animals are cute. Anytime there's a birth on our campus, it's cause for celebration, because breeding is the kind of activity that animals only do when they're healthy and feel comfortable, which means that we are doing our jobs well. On this show, we recently dived into the topic of how we raise baby fish, and this week we'll be doing the same for baby turtles. The aquarium has been a haven for turtles since we opened our doors in 1992. Our campus is home to more turtles than you can see at any other publicly accessible institution on the entire continent. And in our nearly 35-year history, we've had quite a bit of success hatching and raising new ones. In this week's episode, we'll talk about the multi-layered process of raising baby turtles and tortoises, what it is about these animals' natural history that makes this work so critical, and, most importantly, where you can feast your eyes on dozens of babies during your aquarium visit. I suppose it's fitting that this long-winded intro is making for a slow start, given the topic, but let's get to it, shall we? On with the podcast. Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Podcast Aquatic, the official podcast of the Tennessee Aquarium. It is a beautiful Monday morning here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and that means that the conditions are right for us to talk about tiny turtles. And today's episode is going to be focused on tiny turtles, specifically young turtles, turtle hatchlings, and some of the success that we've seen here at the aquarium in producing and raising said hatchlings. But to talk about that, we don't want to hear from me. I'm not an expert. But across from me here in the studio dive cage, I've got two experts who you've heard from before if you're a fan of the show. We've got Bill Hughes, who is our herpetology collection coordinator. Collection, singular. And then next to you and caddy corner to me, I guess, is Charlie Olson. Charlie, you are, I forget, senior herpetologist?
Yep, senior herpetologist.
And you, the two of you, represent almost the entirety of our herpetology specialists here at the aquarium, right? Is there one more?
We have one part-time herpetologist.
She only cares about reptiles and amphibians 8 hours a week.
20 or so.
20 hours a week?
Yes.
Okay. The rest of the time, she doesn't get paid to care.
That's true. She does get paid to care, and she's not here to express her care, but I know wherever she is, she cares.
She's probably thinking of them right now.
Yes. I love how quickly this is just falling right off the rails. That's okay.
We expect no less.
Well, the listeners of the Podcast Aquatic hopefully expect a little bit better of me than this, but it is, again, a Monday morning, and that's my brain is just not all the way in it, but that's why I have the two of you on. Hopefully the two of you can fill in for me, pick up the slack. All right, Bill, we've had you on the podcast before to talk about turtles and among other things, but can you kind of remind people what exactly your job entails?
You know, that's one of those questions you
Dramatic
think they're going to. One of those questions they think they're going to ask, and you'd be prepared, and so you'd be surprised that I wasn't prepared. So my job entails what? I do animal care. I'm still kind of underneath the outer cover, a senior herpetologist, but I also manage the herp collection. I look for animals to acquire. I send animals out. I do a lot of kind of random AZA things on the side.
Association of Zoos and Aquariums.
Yes. Sorry, there's lots of acronyms in this field.
And
every field. Here. Yes.
Professional acronym.
Decoder.
Decoder, yes.
Yes. So I do a few stud books for AZA. I do a couple of SSP, species survival plans for AZA. I teach AZA classes.
That's my job, species survival plans.
Oh, sorry.
I got to decode, Bill, otherwise why am I here?
IDK.
I don't know either.
So, okay. Yeah, that sort of thing. Lots of animal care, but then other things as needed.
Well, for a deeper dive into Bill's background and a little bit more about just turtles in general, because again, we're going to be talking about specifically turtle hatchlings in this episode, you can tune in to, or I guess go back and look at our archives for the Turtles All the Way Down, or It's Turtles All the Way Down.
I think that one, yes.
Which is one of the earlier episodes of the show. We do dive real deep into it for about 35 minutes. Charlie, what does your job entail? Because herpetology, again, reptiles and amphibians, we have a lot of both here at the aquarium. Bill has been on to talk about turtles. You've been on to talk about frogs, I think. Is there like this split between the two of you that one of you cares and takes care of the reptiles and one cares and takes care of the amphibians, or do you have some overlap there?
Yeah, so it's huge amounts of overlap, mostly because we have so many turtles, which we're going to talk about later today. Bill still has some amphibians, but I take care of most of the amphibians. And then I also have some like lizards, a couple of snakes mixed in there.
Just to keep things fresh.
Just to keep things fresh. So it's not all turtles, But most of my job is really broken down into feeding, cleaning, and then logging that I was feeding and cleaning things. I also have a stud book and a vice chair of an SSP, which is really small beans compared to how many Bill is running over here on a daily basis. So
hey, you got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere.
What SSP are you involved with?
The Spinoza SSP.
Okay, pretend that I'm not a scientist and that the people who listen to this show aren't scientists.
Yes, sorry, Hyoscine Spinoza.
Or really lean into
Spiny hill turtle. They're a pretty cool spiky turtle. I don't even think we have any out on display right now. I believe they're all in the backup.
This is not one I'm familiar with.
But all the viewers out here, listeners, I guess they're not viewing us.
Not yet.
You don't know the turtles' names, so we can just teach you the right names right off the bat. That's my strong opinions here.
We are a podcast for the common person, so let's stick with the common name for all of us dummies out there who don't speak Latin or science.
Yep. And then my stud book is Bataga borneensis, which is the painted river terrapin, which is, I wouldn't pick a favorite, but they're an awesome species of turtle.
Where are they found?
They're found in Borneo, and they're just crazy life histories. And it's the one that's in our
Copawis River.
Exactly.
I was about to say, this is the really, really cool looking turtle that you can see in our Copawis River exhibit.
Yes. Yep. The male gets the nice breeding colors and the nice red head, and just a really gorgeous species.
That should start happening in the next month or two.
At time of recording.
Yeah.
Because again, we are recording this in January. Lord only knows when this will actually come out. Sometimes it's months and months and months later. It might. Hopefully it won't be 2027, but it might be later in 2026.
I feel like it's early spring. He starts.
And he'll stay colored up for a while, so you have time.
All right. Okay, so what some people might not know about us unless they listen to this show is that we are home to I have to look at my notes. Home to the largest collection of freshwater turtles in a publicly accessible institution, which is, it is admittedly very much a mouthful of a way to say that you can see a lot of turtles here, more turtles than pretty much anywhere else. That superlative says that more than any other place that you can access easily as a member of the public. So Bill, just in short, like why do we have so many turtles here?
Historically, we've always had a lot of turtles from when the aquarium first opened. The herp staff that was here at the time, the curator was here at the time, really was into turtles. And so his goal, which I think we talked about in an earlier podcast this year or later last year, was getting turtles in as many exhibits as possible. And I think he succeeded. So we're trying to keep that going.
That's right. Good old Dave Collins, our former director of forest. And that episode talking with the Turtle Survival Alliance is another one that you should check out. That's an alliance worth celebrating. I do love a pun. That
we know.
You can go back and listen to that one to find a little bit more about why there are so ding dang many turtles here at the aquarium. Bill, do you have any idea, or Charlie, do you have any idea exactly how many turtles we do have? And you said already, Bill, before the mics turned on, that you were just going to wing this, so you might not have this number just in your back pocket. But do you have a rough guesstimate of how many we've got?
We hover around 425.
Wow.
I would have said 480, I think is where last time I looked.
So hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
That is a lot. I don't know if that's more than I thought. We do have a lot. And then the problem is here at the aquarium, so when you're walking through, as Bill just mentioned and I kind of dogpiled on, there are a lot of turtles in a lot of our different exhibits, but a lot of the turtles you can see, or a lot of the turtles we have, are not ones you can see. So where are the turtles at that are maybe not on exhibit? Where are we keeping them?
So we have a greenhouse upstairs on the roof that has about 125 turtles. And then there are 3 rooms in the basement that are quarantine, medical, and I guess extra holding. And there's quite a few turtles down there. And I think there's one other backup area that has just a few, but the rest are on exhibit. I mean, at some point we should break down the numbers, say how many are on exhibit and how many are off, because I think it's close to half.
Well, let's say like one out of every 2 turtles here at the aquarium is not one that you can actually see. So why do we have turtles at the aquarium and spend the time and resources to take care of them when there is not a chance for the public to see and appreciate them?
Well, some of those we are breeding, so you can see the fruits of their labors. There's offspring from some of these turtles. Some of them, they're part of, some of them which we're trying to breed, like the 4-eyed turtles. We have those on exhibit. We have a lot more off exhibit because we have a colony of them. You can say that for a few other species. I don't think we have too many off exhibit turtles. A notable exception being the spiny turtles that we have a quantity of in backup that we don't have on exhibit. Like we might have a few oddball things in backup that, not on exhibit yet or part of a breeding project. But
sometimes we'll have the babies out, and once they outgrow the nursery, the entire population will be back to just being in the backup. So some of them, like, you'll need to come in and see the ones in the nursery before they're gone from there, because that species might not be represented in other places in the aquarium.
Yeah, you guys are like spoiling the whole secret of the podcast, which is what we're going to talk about, our turtle nursery. All right. Well, if we're going to just skip ahead, we'll go ahead and talk about the fact that we've got a turtle nursery.
You did send us an agenda, but you never said it had to be linear.
That's true. And it's not really a script, but 5 years ago, more or less, I guess now it's 6 years ago, we redid our turtles gallery. We had one that had been around for quite a long time. And then we revamped it and kind of reimagined it and reopened it in March of 2020 as turtles.
Something about that date.
Something about that date.
I can't quite put my finger
Something
on it.
happened.
Something happened that year.
Turtles of the World, which is a celebration of turtle biodiversity around the world, but with a specific focus on 2 different areas of hotspots of biodiversity, being Southeast Asia and then here in the Southeast United States.
Just say North America now, because we have changed some of those exhibits. One of those exhibits to a Mexican exhibit.
Okay. Well, in North America, we do have quite a few turtles as well, and as part of those plans, and what I would consider to be the centerpiece of that gallery is a working turtle nursery. So one of you, can you kind of walk people through what exactly the turtle nursery is and what people can see when they come here and visit the turtle nursery as part of the Turtles of the World gallery?
Charles, would you like to take that one, or you want me to take it?
Ooh, Charles, that was a very formal way to ask that.
That's how we're very formal on podcasts.
Yes, brilliant. I don't know if y'all like baby turtles, but as the name
I love baby turtles
implies, it is full of baby turtles and soon to be baby turtles. So the nursery's
AKA eggs.
So we have 4 incubators in that space in the back wall. And we'll go through. What do you think at our peak? How many eggs do you think we'll have in there?
Never any great quantity. I mean, it just depends. If things like 4-eyed turtles breed, I almost said a Latin word. I stopped myself.
Cicalia.
Those guys lay 1 to 4 eggs at a time once a year. But if we get something like the phrynops, the toad-headed turtles, the ones that we have in the flooded forest, they lay big clutches. It just depends. So I don't know if I have a good...
I think I've seen at least 25 or 30 eggs in there at a single time.
I mean, not insane numbers, but enough to justify having. And we have different incubators for different egg temperatures. We can get into that later too.
And then the front of the nursery is actually where the baby turtles are. There is a side rack that's not as upfront on the window, where there's mostly Cicalia or the four-eyed turtles.
I'm just gonna start bleeping you out when you use the Latin name.
But every single tank has a turtle in it. You might not believe us when we say that, because they're all hard to find sometimes. But there are turtles from all around the world. Some of the species that are represented in the nursery are not just some of the rarest turtles in the world, but they're some of the rarest animals in the world. And they really are kind of a privilege to be able to see some of these species that we're representing in that turtle nursery area.
What would be some examples of those ones that are rare even among rare animals?
Yeah. My favorite example is the McCord's box turtle. The McCord's box turtle is thought to be extinct in the wilds. They really only exist in like zoological collections. Wow. And there's not even that many in zoological collections. And I think we have 2 out there right now that you're actually able to see in the turtle nursery. The same thing with the Pan's box turtle, Corapani. And then we have the Ericon forest turtles, which are maybe Bill's favorite turtles. Which are really not represented at other institutions.
Bill is nodding along silently, which is not great podcasting material, but he is agreeing.
I did it because I know you would say, hey, Bill is nodding along silently, so I just thought I'd save time.
Well, I appreciate you helping to pad out the runtime by making me run it back to explain what you were doing. But okay, so the McCord's box turtle, tell people what that animal looks like. And sometimes I guess the baby turtles can actually look pretty different from how they look as adults, but What does the McCord's box turtle look like? What color is it? How big is it?
Well, they're babies right now, and they're pretty bright. They have like nice yellow heads, and then have a little bit of patterning on their shells. They're not a very large turtle when they're fully grown, but they're in the Asian box turtle, the Cora complex is what we call it. And they don't actually look that similar, but there are a couple of species that kind of look a little similar to this. But yeah, the bright like yellow heads are kind of like the big distinguishing factor for this species.
Cool. And so at any given time, how many species do we have exhibited that people can see when they come to the nursery?
I don't know specifically in the nursery. The whole aquarium, we have around 85 species of turtles and tortoises. And a bulk of those would be in the nursery, but I don't know exactly how many.
So the nursery has 24 species on exhibit right now.
Wow. That's a lot. Feels like a lot.
It's a good start.
I mean, you figure there are 360 odd species of turtles in the world?
Mm-hmm.
So that one exhibit has about 1/15 of all the turtles in the entire world. Bad. That's pretty good.
It's nice having them all. I guess that's part of the appeal of it. It's nice having them all in one spot so you can see them and not have to travel far.
Are y'all impressed with my in the moment mental math? That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's why we keep you around.
Well, that and acronym decoding, as we've already established. Okay, so where do these turtles come from? If we have this many turtles and some of them are as rare as Charlie just said, how do we acquire these turtles and where do they come from?
We get a lot of animals from other zoos, other aquariums. We get quite a few animals from the Turtle Survival Alliance from their breeding center. One of the reasons for that is actually kind of interesting is because a lot of zoos don't have a place to display little turtles. If they want a turtle for an exhibit, they want an adult so it doesn't get lost in the exhibit, in some giant exhibit. So the Turtle Survival Center finds it easier sometimes, or usually when they have offspring, they're easier for them to surplus when they're bigger. And so that's kind of what our little... That's how we can help them in some small ways, because we can grow some babies up, and then sometimes when they get bigger, we send them back there, and they can, whatever they're going to do with them, assimilate them into their breeding colonies or send them out. But I think a couple of times we've sent stuff directly to other zoos because now they're no longer 10, 15 grams. They're decent sized little turtle, and so the other zoo is ready to take it. So
one thing I love about the nursery is that when you're at the aquarium and you're kind of just wandering around, if you're here working like we do and you have access to the buildings at any one time or all the time, you'll hear these exclamations of excitement from people at different points, and there are some that are kind of expected. Like when people kind of see the otters, you hear them say, "Oh, otters," and run ahead and scream. And then the Ocean Journey building, you'll hear kind of the same thing with the clownfish exhibit. And when they see like a blue tang, they say, "Oh, it's Dory," or sharks, obviously, and penguins get a big thing. A lot of people don't, I think of turtles as being like a super like everyone in this room, we all love turtles, and we get excited about them, but it's not something that you think of people getting like a turtle is something that like elicits this like gleeful excitement. But that exhibit, specifically the turtle nursery, I hear so many people walking into that gallery who see that just wall that Charlie mentioned of just row after row of these cute little baby turtles, and they just get so excited. Like, as people who care for these animals, and you have this professional attachment to professional attachment to turtles, is it exciting for you to hear that kind of appreciation echoed in the excitement of guests when they come into the turtle nursery and kind of see all those little baby turtles and they get excited?
it is. I mean, that's part of the whole point of the nursery, is that people could come here and see species they couldn't normally see, and be made aware of species they may or may not know exist. And if their only reaction is to look at it and go, "Hey, that's cool," or "That's cute," that's fine. If they get excited, that's even better. I do notice, and I was thinking about this before the podcast, is that the usual way is that it goes is that they'll come into the gallery. If they have children, the children will go, "Ooh, turtles." And that's fine. And then they go, "Ooh, baby turtles." And then they come over with the parents. They see the baby turtles. They're kind of oohing and ahhing. But then a lot of times you'll hear the parents go, "Oh, that one's critically endangered," or "Oh, that one's threatened." And so it's a little bit of a reality check. But so they're getting some awareness from the visit, from seeing it. But they're also getting the cute factor, and it ticks a lot of boxes. So I think it's a successful exhibit in that.
Yeah, it's like the onion has many layers, and the longer you spend there, the more of those layers you kind of get down to.
And that's the part I like about it, because I do like the mega exhibits. I do like big exhibits, but the mixed species exhibits we have down there, we can't have that many turtles in them. Things don't get along. There's always a little bit of drama, but we can, in this not much bigger space, we can have a lot of diversity. And so, there is something to be said for little exhibits like that. The terrestrial ones, we have the horticultural staff have planted them nicely. They're all like little micro habitats, and I appreciate that. I think some people do too, is that, it's just, you can take in the whole exhibit. The whole thing is right in front of you.
It's like a diorama, kind of.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing like a little like microcosm is another word that I would use for it.
And it really is just like the best display of turtle diversity that you can get. Just in that one window right there, you're seeing a snake neck turtle, a side neck turtle, a soft shell turtle, an Asian box turtle, map turtle from North America. It's all these species that normally you wouldn't get to like compare right next to each other. And you just get to see every different type of turtle there is in one spot. So you can really sit there and take it in and really understand like the complexity of all these different types of turtles and tortoises that are in the world.
Yeah. You see all the turtles of the world.
Yes. Yeah. We should name it something like that, I think.
Appropriately named that gallery. Yeah. It's interesting that you pointed out that it's a lot of places don't like to exhibit baby turtles because it's difficult for them, I guess, to shine and not get kind of lost in the shuffle. Because I guess to me, there's such a moment of just excitement, again, with how guests react to them, that I think more places should probably pursue some way to do this, because the cute animal payoff is pretty tremendous.
And I think too, I think other places do have baby turtles are sometimes exhibited. And the old turtle gallery, we had 4 small tanks. They were kind of like on the way out of the gallery. Mm-hmm. People seem to like them, so I think I have seen that other places too. But I think there is a good argument to devoting some space to something like this because it does seem popular. No one ever comes down and goes, "I hate turtles," or "I don't like turtles," or "gross turtles." I mean, we've talked about this before. I think if I had my druthers, whatever a druther is, I would love to someday have a viper nursery, but I don't think it would have the same effect on people. Yeah. I would be excited. I would come in every day and go, "Ooh, vipers!" It's not everyone's cup of tea.
Well, unless this was you, like commenting in disguise, someone else said that they were on board for a viper nursery as a comment on the podcast on one of the episodes. So
okay,
you're not alone.
So we have an army of 2. We're getting there.
3. I'd be on board to
Charlie?
do it too.
Why not?
Okay, 4. So
hey, you know what? Revolutions have started with fewer people than that.
We'll talk to our director of exhibits and see what he thinks. But nothing else, it'll be entertaining.
The Tennessee Aquarium's podcast Aquatic is made possible by support from the Tennessee Conservationist, the official magazine of Tennessee state parks. Each issue is filled with fascinating stories about Tennessee's native species, rich history, and unique culture. It's also your guide to exploring state parks and planning your next outdoor adventure. Subscribe today at tnconservationist.org. Now, I checked with our registrar, who kind of keeps tab on all the births and deaths and animals moving in and out of the aquarium, and asked, how many turtles have we hatched here? Because again, we're talking about baby turtles, and we've hatched quite a few from those eggs that we talked about earlier. And she said that as of 2023, so these statistics are a couple of years out of date at this point, but between 92 when we opened and 2023, we hatched 1,148 individual turtles, which represented 45 different species. So 45 different species of turtles have hatched here across 1,148 turtles, which is an average of about 35 turtles a year, which seems like a pretty good average. It's a lot of turtles. I mean, that feels like that. How many does it come in fits and spurts? It feels like most of the year we're not every week celebrating a turtle coming out. It's like feels like they kind of happen in batches, right?
Yeah, there's probably like a peak in the summer months, late spring, early summer, and then there's the few oddballs that are waiting till the fall to hatch. It's so like they're not all happening at once, but sometimes it seems like it. Like if you go down there now, I don't know. I think I have 4 side neck eggs that may not hatch for 3 or 4 months. So that's again getting into spring, summer.
Yeah, what's the incubation period for turtle eggs? Is it a pretty wide range?
It's all over the place.
Okay. So what would be maybe a longer incubation period, or an example of a longer incubation period?
The American forest and I think the hingebacks too were 4 to 6 months.
Wow.
Closer toward I said maybe 5 to 6 months. And then things like the oh no, I said the bad word. The 4-eyed turtles.
Again, I'm just going to bleep it out. You think I'm kidding? I'm not.
No, it's okay. We'll save that discussion for another day where we'll argue that is the common name because that's what everyone uses that works with these animals. But anyway, the 4-eyed turtles, 75, 80 days.
That's pretty quick.
That's usually about the fastest, I think. We've had stuff hatch sooner, but it might just be that we didn't find the eggs, like we got them and they hatched sooner, but it's like, oh, they've already been in the substrate incubating before we pulled them out.
And we've had babies hatch on exhibit before too.
Really?
Where they were nest. It'll happen like the Delta exhibit occasionally, where we'll just walk in and there's just baby turtles in there. And we scoop them up and put them in the nursery.
I had no idea that was a thing.
Does not happen often. We're pretty good at finding the nest. But every once in a while, if you look in there, you'll see a little baby turtle swimming around.
Yeah, what does a turtle nest look like? Again, that probably...
Hole in the ground.
Yep, hole in the ground.
Covered up.
But sometimes they do a little bit of better job at hiding it from us than they normally do. It's usually pretty easy, but...
There was one species, Bill, that we talked about, and I did a video about with you, where the mother did not lay the eggs in a nest. She just laid them kind of on top of the ground.
That was the hingeback tortoises.
Was that the hingeback tortoise?
And it wasn't all at once. It's like, here's one, wait a couple of days. Here's another one in a different corner. Wait, I'll dig a nest. Okay, I'll fill it back in. Okay, here's another egg in yet a different corner. So
not a clutch then?
It was a clutch, but we just got them piecemeal.
How weird. Do you know why that happened?
No, we're not sure. I mean, she didn't find a suitable nest site, but I don't know. We put her in pretty deep soil and gave her options and basically left her alone. And she just said, nah, try again. So.
And I mean, there are some species like the black-breasted leaf turtles are known just to like kind of lay their eggs just kind of like the base of plants and stuff, kind of like very shallowly buried. Sometimes the tops are still sticking out if buried at all.
I finally... a few years back, I finally saw a spiny turtle nesting for the first time, and it's kind of what I expected because I found so many eggs. It's like sometimes they bury them, but she basically laid this enormous egg, and I took pictures of it, and I thought, okay, now she's going to bury it. She just kicked once, a little bit of dirt went on top, and then she walked away. So I was like, I'm done. It's like a little token. Here's a little dust, dirt to keep it from predators. Okay, what's next?
Now you get to take over.
There is, the species name is escaping me, but there is a turtle that actually builds above ground nests. Two species.
Impressed tortoises and black and brown, I guess, what are they called? Mountain tortoises.
Yeah, Burmese mountain tortoises.
There's two subspecies, but those two species both lay above ground nest, and they guard them, I think, until the eggs hatch. I was telling someone recently, you can edit this out if it's too boring. I think I was telling educators this because I remembered this, is that back in the 80s or so, that kind of thing was a novelty, and they were breeding these at Honolulu Zoo long ago, early 80s. So the female laid the nest and she's on top of it, and I have a old paper, and it's in a book of papers, and it's just kind of magical because they were like, she was really defensive of the nest, and to prove that, they had pictures of what they did. They had a stuffed mongoose on something that looked like a skateboard, and they would drag it by the nest on a rope, and she would come down off the nest and attack it. And there's pictures in the book of this process, which was now seems very very Victorian or Edwardian. It's been so long, but it wasn't that long ago that that was my reaction to it. I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, that's crazy. Like, where did you get a stuffed mongoose? That was my first question. But and the skateboard that it went on.
I see. In my head, I'm too much of a dad. When you said a stuffed mongoose, I thought you meant like a stuffed animal. You mean like literally like a taxidermied?
Taxidermied mongoose. I don't know why they picked mongoose. Maybe it's just something they had.
That's even better, though. Honestly, a taxidermied mongoose on it sounds like an art, like it's somebody's like art. But,
it's one of those old papers. It's from the 80s, but it's like there's this black and white photos of the mongooses blurries are dragging it by the nest, and the females coming out of the nest to attack it. This is Charlie's fault. He mentioned the nesters.
This harkens back to when you were on the show the last time, I think, talking about Appalachian animal myths, and we were talking about alligator snapping turtles and the study or the book you were reading where they were testing the bite force of an alligator snapping turtle back in the 80s with a broom handle or something.
Yeah, and it just dented it, and then somehow that turned into it'll take your hand off or your finger. Yeah.
And people shouted science with their finger pointed in the air.
Yeah.
Because that's how they did it back in the 80s.
Yes. Yes.
So with, again, more than 1,000 turtles hatched here over the last 34 years, is it still something that either of you get excited about? Charlie, is it when you see like a baby turtle or an egg show up, is that like cause for excitement, or are you just like, it's like more work?
Most of the time, I'm pretty excited. And I mean, every time a baby comes out, I think everyone has their cameras and phones and are taking as many pictures as we can of the little guys coming out of their eggs because they're just so cute. And they never get less cute. And they're just even cuter when they're coming out of that egg. It is always really exciting. I think it's a little
exciting.
Egg-citing, yes.
Okay, I've got to go.
I get a little more egg-cited when we get a new species hatching, especially if it's one that like I haven't like ever seen hatch. Those get like really, really fun, and I get extremely like proud dad status sometimes, like going around. I'm like,
So the hingebacks.
exactly. I don't know if you've noticed, but these little babies hatched over here to everyone. But even when Bill has a Ericon Forest turtle hatch over there, I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, I don't know if you saw Bill's new turtle over here. That thing is cute. You gotta go take a look at that thing. So no, it's always exciting to have the little babies hatching out.
They are really cute. And actually the American forest turtle is exciting for a different reason, in that not only are they cute, but as Bill mentioned earlier, they're also extremely, extremely rare. Or I guess you mentioned earlier that they're also extremely, extremely rare.
Yeah, there's not that many in zoos in the U.S.
And Bill, I mean, I think you've got such a dry sense of humor. It's sometimes hard to tell when you are excited, but I feel like when I see you at the most just outwardly excited about things, it's oftentimes because there's a baby turtle in your hands or nearby.
Yeah, it never gets old. It's okay. It's always a good thing.
So of all the species that are in the nursery, do either of you have like a specific favorite? And I did, again, as you mentioned earlier, I did feed you these questions earlier, so you've had time to think about it. What would be your favorite baby turtle we currently have here in the nursery?
I'm going for the hingebacks because they're novelty for us. We've never had those before, and they look extremely grumpy. It's anthropomorphic. They look really grumpy. They like to hide under their logs. They're still pretty new. I want to make sure that they're eating and stuff. So I, once or twice a week, get them out from under the log, soak them in warm water, then put them in front of a mushroom, or today it was blueberries, and make sure they're eating. They probably don't really have any emotions or feelings about it, but they just look extra grumpy because they've been pulled out from their warm, cozy, damp hiding spot.
And then had a giant mushroom and
forced to take a bath, and then here's a giant mushroom from the sky.
To be fair, they are, what do they call it, fungivores?
Fungivores. You didn't use that word when we did the video, so we're going to use it now.
Yes.
They like to eat mushrooms.
Assuming I don't bleep out fungivore.
Okay.
I won't.
I hope you don't.
I won't bleep it out. Fungivores. So they like to eat fungus.
Yes. Among other things. They're eating fruit. They're eating some salad mixes. They really like earthworms, but I guess I don't know that word. Vermivorous. We'll get back to that one.
Editor Casey stepping in here. Actually, there's no need to go back on that one. Bill got it right without even darting away to Google. The term for an animal that's diet consists primarily of worms is a vermivore, from the Latin words vermis for worm and vorare for to devour. So, some turtles are, to put it in non-bleep-worthy common language, devourers of worms. Okay, back to the podcast. Charlie, what's your favorite baby turtle we currently have?
Fungivore.
I'm a huge.
I don't know what he's going to say either. I'm like kind of waiting with bated breath.
Good, because I really got to think of the common name here.
Don't just go for it.
Flower-backed box turtle fan, Cora. They, in my personal opinion, just the most gorgeous turtle that's ever existed. I can never not be looking at them. They're really expressive, but they're just beautiful, beautiful animals. And I'm always looking at them. They draw me in.
I say that's a close second for me. Plus, we also have one of our original babies it belongs to TSA, but we kept it and raised it up. And now she lives in one of the bigger exhibits, and she sits out front, and she's just massive. And so that's a good opportunity too, because you can say, you see these two little guys over here, this is what they turn into.
Oh, that's cool.
And she's got fantastic coloration. The babies, some animals get less attractive with age. The coloration fades or something, but
it's true for me.
Same, but these guys, it seems to be not the case. So, when I look at her, I look at the coloration in her head, and I look at those guys going, they're just going to look, better every day.
So you said that's the flower back?
Yeah, I think they're also calling them Indo-Chinese box turtles.
Okay. Yeah, I was say I know Indo-Chinese box turtle. I didn't know flower back, but that's cool. I love the Rhode Island snake-necked turtle. I think something about them when they're really, really little, their faces just look kind of goofy, and I love them.
I never thought I'd say this in a public forum, but I will. It's because somebody said this to me. I've never seen these movies, but if you look at it straight on and it's looking at you and you get the right angle of the head, it looks like the dragon and How to Train Your Dragon.
It totally does. I did not.
Look at it next time you're there. Look at it.
Oh my gosh, it 100% does. It looks like Toothless.
Okay.
From How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
Now
and it is actually toothless. So
yeah.
Wow, how appropriate.
Now don't look at them for too long because their eyes are very piercing, and I'm pretty sure they're stealing a little bit of your soul every time they're staring right into you.
That is so getting bleak.
To be fair though, they're giving you something back. I mean, they're being cute.
They're pretty cute. They're a little scary, honestly.
Well, if I had to have like a runner-up, I guess it would probably be the pancake tortoise, which we used to have them as adults, and I'm so glad
We've had babies before. We don't have any right now.
No.
Did you miss them?
Yeah, we had them recently.
Yeah, we had some recently.
Well, okay. Well, maybe one that we've recently had that we no longer...
But we'll get them again.
Okay. Anyway, one of the cool things about the turtle nursery is that if you do come back multiple times, the chances are pretty good that you're going to see a new species or a couple new species. So it's kind of like Netflix. Like if you really like one of these species, you better watch it before.
Well, I can think of two offhand. The Sonoran desert tortoises. So favorite. We got two of those originally. We grew them up, moved them to education. They got too big. We got two more. All of these animals came from Arizona Fish and Wildlife, or Arizona Game and Fish, whatever it's called. And they're ours, but we can't take any more because if I get more babies, I don't know where I would put the adults. So the two that are in there will be the last two we ever have of that species.
Oh, man.
And the AKA the American forest turtle. I think if you say AKA, he won't bleep you. The American forest turtle is getting big, and we didn't get any eggs this fall. Mm-hmm. So we won't hatch any this year. So at some point, I'm pretty sure it's a she, is going to rotate out because she's getting big.
Okay. Yeah, the American forest turtle is I'll link to a video in the show or the episode description from when we had, I think we set the record for a single clutch at an AZA institution. So we had what you said, seven? Which is that feels like, I mean, it's a lot of turtles to see in one spot, like baby turtles. And some of my favorite pictures that we've ever taken of you have been really just your hands full of baby turtles, and that would be one example of a handful of critically endangered turtles.
I think we did something like that during the pandemic too. Do you remember that? We went up because we had for whatever reason, and we had said that 2020 wasn't a great year for a lot of people, which is an understatement, but it was a record year for us hatching Cicalia, the four-eyed turtles. We hatched both species, and we hatched more of each than we ever had. So I don't know why, but it was like a small compensation for everything else that was going on. And I remember trying to take pictures, and they wouldn't hold still. Trying to get all of the babies in two hands at once was problematic.
Well, and the real kicker about that whole situation was that 2020 was supposed to be, because of the opening of that gallery, was supposed to be our year of the turtle. We promoted it as the year of the turtle.
Yes.
And then we opened that gallery, and we had visitors come in, and they said, "Oh, look at how great this is. We're so excited to see this brand new gallery." And then the next day we shut down for 96 days.
But the turtles got the memo. They're like, "You're the turtle. Let's breed some four-eyed turtles here,
They
Fill
were
the nursery."
I do remember that, though. It was extremely hot up under the
it was hot.
The glass peaks.
Yes.
And so we did that, and also that year we also joined the brand new AZA Saving Animals from Extinction American Turtles program, which got started under the leadership of our former aforementioned director of forests, Dave Collins.
Yeah.
And we're still part of that. And that whole year was a lot of things were supposed to happen that year that didn't happen, and then things that weren't supposed to happen did happen. So 2020 is definitely a year that will live in infamy. What are baby turtles like to care for? Are they, you both have cared for, I guess, baby animals of different sorts. So, how do baby turtles rank? Are they demanding, challenging? What's different about caring for a baby turtle compared to maybe a baby of another stripe?
The baby turtles are both easy and not easy, if that makes sense at all.
It doesn't. Elaborate.
They are easy for most of the time. Like generally once they first hatch, you kind of have to wait and make sure they're going to eat their first like meals really well. But once they're really eating solidly, they generally take food pretty readily. You can soak them. And they're easy in that aspect, but it's hard because if you don't really dial in the husbandry, the mistakes that you make now when they're babies can follow them for the rest of their lives. So if you don't have like the right lighting or the right supplementation or diets, and then they grow like abnormally, they can get like weird shell issues, they can get like bone density issues and stuff. And those are things you actually can't fix later on. So it's really, really focusing and making sure that like day to day they're getting their care for, but also like their overall care is really dialed in, because you might not, if you're not focusing on it, you might not realize you're making a mistake until much too late to really bring it back and try to help that.
And that's why a lot of the terrestrial ones down there have the plexiglass over the top to try to keep the humidity up. For a lot of terrestrial species, high humidity, even things like the desert tortoises, it's necessary when they're small, otherwise their shell deforms.
That sounds really stressful. Like a lot of things, I mean, any parent, I guess, understands that caring for a small version of an animal can be pretty difficult. But that sounds like a lot of things to try and keep straight in your brain.
Yeah, they're very malleable when they're small. So sometimes I feel like I'm down there with like a magnifying glass, like looking at them. I'm like, is something happening with you right now, or what's going on here? They're usually fine. I'm just too worrisome sometimes.
Can one of you walk through what the process of actually hatching entails? Because, I mean, hatching makes it sound like it's just you go from point A to point B like just instantly, and it's really not as quick as that. And it's actually a very demanding.
It's got to be a drain on resources for the animal. So
how does it start?
They usually pip. Well, they always pip. They have a caruncle. There's that word again on their upper beak,
AKA
an egg tooth.
An egg tooth, even though it's neither an egg nor a tooth. It's just a caruncle. They break through the shell with that. So that's item one. They've had to break a hole in the shell to get some leverage to get out.
And it's not like a chicken egg. So
No.
it's not like a hard, brittle kind of shell.
It is. Some species, nothing we've hatched here recently has been. Most of them are hard-shelled.
I guess I thought they were more leathery, but they're not.
No, nothing that we've had here.
I'll bleep myself out.
That's okay. So hard-shelled, they had to break out. And there's a lot. So this process is the same as the incubation process. It sounds simple, but there's so many steps that something can go wrong. So sometimes, and it depends on the species, sometimes they'll break out, stick their head out a little bit, and then that's it for a while. And a while might be an hour. It might be the next day. It just depends what it is. They somehow the crack out of that egg. If they sit there for a while and nothing's happening, and again, a while's a relative term and just more based on, hey, we've done this before and it didn't proceed this slow. Sometimes crack the egg a little bit around where they've made a hole, but let them have a little bit of an advantage.
Give them a helping hand.
Yes. Sometimes they're going to come out, they have a yolk sac, which is what's been providing nutrients for the incubation period. They're supposed to absorb it. Sometimes it's not fully absorbed. Sometimes it's pretty big, and they're kind of like an old 1970s, 80s toy called a Weeble. It's like they just want to, they can't get their legs down, they can't walk properly.
For us, like they're sitting on top of a big ball, basically.
Yeah, they're stuck to it though. But that ball has veins and other things going in and out of it, so you don't want it to just tear off. So we use perlite for incubation substrate. It's kind of rough, so we take them off of that. We try to clean off any of that that's on them, and we usually put them on a sea of slightly damp paper towels and keep that clean, and just kind of leave them in that. Try to prevent them from moving around in hopes that they don't damage it. And then sometimes it clears up right away. It's like the hinge backs, I think all but one had that. The next day, it's mostly gone. Day 2 or 3, it's gone.
Because they're like absorbing those nutrients.
Yeah. So that's something can go wrong. So we try to keep that clean. We did have a map turtle, I think a few years ago, that we're not sure why it happened. It had a really big one, and I think it took 4 or 5 weeks that we would kind of wrap it so it couldn't move because we didn't want it to tear that massive structure and bleed out or have some other issues. So trying to keep it restrained. I don't know if it would even eat because they're still getting nutrients from that. So that one, we would just soak it occasionally, get it water. I think we were giving it fluids. It's done okay, but there's always something that can go wrong.
And a lot of these turtles actually have, sometimes they have hatching triggers that sometimes you have to replicate in order to start the hatching process. So some of them, they'll lay eggs in the dry season. And so you have to replicate that dry season, and then they hatch during the wet season. You actually need to change the moisture levels that's in the substrate they're sitting in. There's one turtle that I don't think we've ever hatched here, but we do have here, the fly river turtles famously hatch underwater. Generally, their nests can be flooded by the rivers, and then the babies come out and they just start swimming.
Yeah, they nest during the dry season, and then when the water rises during the wet season,
that's what triggers them.
Yeah, and so people who've bred them will actually take the eggs and put them in cups of water and stuff to trigger that hatching response from that species.
That's so cool.
Something that they're doing research on now, which is actually my favorite turtle fact, is actually turtle communication. And they're putting microphones into some of the nests of the wild turtles, and they're hearing those baby turtles communicate in those nests. They're actually making these little squeaking sounds, kind of like birds almost. And they think that they're doing that to actually kind of coordinate hatching behaviors. So they can be like, hey, are we ready to hatch yet? No, Jimmy over here is taking a little bit too long to absorb his yolk sac, so we got to wait a couple of days for him. And then right before they hatch, they kind of get a little bit louder, a big cacophony of sound, and then they come and hatch out of their eggs.
Is this ultrasonic or?
Infrasound.
Okay, so
yeah, it's the other side.
Of it. Okay, so too low to do low.
Yeah, so they're learning some of the adults are doing that too, but I believe the Turtle Conservancy was the one, I believe last year or the year before that actually heard it in some of the nests of the species too.
So I guess the thought process being if they can coordinate and more of them get out at once, it's less likely that they'll be picked off than if just a single baby turtle hatches because they're so vulnerable.
Exactly. That's the thought. It is so new that I don't think anyone knows for sure what's entirely going on because they really just are learning that they're even making these sounds.
So, Bill, when you're in a situation that I know you've been in the past where we've had some success hatching turtles that basically no one else has. So the four-eyed turtles that we've mentioned before, that's one that there's just not a lot of, I'm guessing there's just not a lot of literature or institutional knowledge from other institutions that you can lean on to figure out what those conditions happen to be to encourage the eggs to hatch. So how are you figuring that out? Is it just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks, or how do you sort out what the criteria are to convince those eggs to successfully hatch?
Well, that's a good question. The four-eyed turtles, we just got lucky because the first year we hatched them, I picked a good incubation temperature, or what I thought was a good incubation temperature, and it turns out that they are temperature determines sex, the incubation temperature determines the sex. So higher is female, lower is male. But I happen to pick a temperature kind of in the middle. So we've always gotten a mix of males and females, which is kind of what we want to have. We don't want to hatch out all males or females. For some species, that could be used to manage them in human care. If your population's male heavy, you could tamper with it to hatch out more females. But for these, we're hatching slightly more females than males. Every year I go, I should incubate some at different temperatures and figure out what the cutoffs are. But then I go, well, I don't know,
You make it sound like you're like shopping, like your grocery list. Like, no, we're kind of low on females, so I guess I'll just...
No, so we're not. So we have roughly a 50-50 mix, so it's okay. What we're getting is what we're getting.
I'm just saying for purposes of analogy. It was a good analogy. I'm giving myself the...
Which it is a role of a SSP manager. A lot of institutions, when they get those eggs, will contact the people managing those animals and ask, what temperatures do I need to incubate these eggs to meet the population goals?
And usually, for the species I've worked with, we usually say, don't try to hatch this or that. Just go for the mix.
So turtles are I guess stereotypically portrayed as being slow, and one respect in which they actually are pretty slow is that they tend to be fairly slow to grow, right? So they take longer for new generations to show up. They're slow to reproduce, and that, I guess, to me makes the turtle nursery and the work that you're doing kind of behind the scenes to raise turtles feel all the more important, because when situations happen, in the wild where human induced, often, I guess, activity or human induced problems cause a generation of turtles to disappear, it can be really, really damaging, right? It can like that impact is amplified by how long it can take for a new generation of turtles to show up. So when we're doing stuff like we're doing here at the Tennessee Aquarium to raise new turtles, we're kind of doing extra important work just because of the natural history of turtles being what it is, and them being so slow to grow.
Yeah, it's kind of a long game with turtles, and what you're saying is true. It's like they're slow to mature. Their reproductive rate isn't necessarily high. There's species like soft shells that lay a lot of eggs, but some species don't, like bog turtles or the black-breasted leaf turtles lay 1 or 2 eggs at a time, I think. Right? Bogs don't lay that many. The four-eyed turtles, the most I've ever gotten is 4, and they only lay 1 clutch a year. So, if you say, well, it takes a while to mature, and then if they're not making that many, so we think it takes about 9 years, 8 to 10 years to mature if you're a four-eyed turtle. So there's that time. And then if you're producing 1 to 4 babies a year, that's not a lot in the big picture.
Not compared to like a mouse.
Not compared to like a mouse who, is probably mature at age 3. And then the turtle's still not even showing outward signs of what sex it is at age 3. 1 to 4 babies a year. And then there's some, first year mortality with that. Like maybe they don't all have, you're laying 1 to 4 eggs. Doesn't mean you're getting 1 to 4 babies. It's like the numbers start, that spread between like the mouse and the turtle as far as number of offspring. It starts spreading really fast. It's like the turtle's getting his first offspring, and the mouse is like on 3rd or 4th year of breeding, or maybe more than that, and maybe lots of babies several times a year.
Yeah.
And the turtle's going, hey, I'm 9 years old now. Here's my first egg. Oh, it didn't hatch. There's actually a graphic on the wall in Turtle World. It's a little skewed, but I think it's good because it puts a purpose across. It's got a turtle and various other animals compared, as far as like offspring over a certain number of years based on how long it takes them to mature. And it's a little fanciful because we're assuming nothing ever dies. It's like, at 10 years, when the mouse or the deer has 500,000 descendants, I mean, it's possible, but probably there's mortality.
Yeah, probably not.
But throwing mortality out the window. In this analogy, you look at those population sizes, and the turtle's still down there at the bottom, like going, "Hey, it's time for my first clutch of eggs," and the horde of deer or mice or whatever mammal or bird is going, "Look at all of us," and the turtle's going, "Here I am. I'm about to reproduce for the first time." But the turtle also plays a long game because some of these species are very long-lived. My favorite example is Mr. Pickles at Houston Zoo, a radiated tortoise who fathered offspring for the first time at the ripe old age of 91.
Holy cow.
There's no mice, elks or deer having babies at 91. They're long gone. The turtles, again, playing the long game, like, okay. He's like, time to be a father.
And you compare that to other, herps, and Charlie, you used to care for, I guess you still care for our Vietnamese mossy frogs, and it feels like back in the day that exhibit used to, be on reproductive, like, hypercycle, and you'd constantly be pulling tadpoles out of that exhibit. So they had a very different strategy when it came to reproduction, I guess.
Yes, it's just a lot more, and we still get a lot of poison dart frog babies born in there too. They're a little bit more productive, and they also just kind of breed when the availability is there. They don't have as much of a season per se in a zoological environment that like they would in the wild. Now, I will say for the turtle nursery, one of the most common questions we get is if those turtles specifically are going to be going out into the wild, which they're not. Most of the turtles you're seeing in the turtle nursery are part of like the ARC colonies or the assurance colonies is what I call them. And so they're holding a population in zoos and aquariums so that if they go extinct in the wild, which some of these species might be going extinct in the wild, we're holding a population in zoos and aquariums so that they're not fully wiped off the face of the planet. So the ones we have there, I like to say, like, maybe their great-grandchildren would be released into the wild. But especially for the really rare species, if we were to take those turtles and put them out there, they would be immediately poached. Or the thing that's making them go extinct is still affecting them. And so we just need to hold them in human care for a period of time. But that's where also, like, the head starting programs, talking about, like, turtle growth, they do grow a lot faster in the turtle nursery than they might in the wild. And so when you hear about heads,
like ideal conditions, right? They're getting as much food as they need at regular intervals and good veterinary care.
Exactly. So a lot of times you'll see the head starting programs at places like Zoo Knoxville and us too, where they'll grow them out for a couple of years and then put them into the wild. But they're larger and they have a higher chance of like survival because of their size versus a turtle of the same age that actually grew up completely in the wild.
Sure. It's a very similar story to the work that we're doing out at the Tennessee Aquarium Conservation Institute with the lake sturgeon. So every year we get basically freshly hatched lake sturgeon fry that then spend a few months at the Conservation Institute's freshwater field station growing up and getting larger and to a releasable size of about 6 inches long, which at that point they're considered robust enough to stand a fairly good chance of survival. They're past, I guess, being easy prey for some of the things that would normally eat a smaller, more freshly hatched, wild hatched sturgeon.
Exactly. And I think the sturgeon and the turtles kind of share a lot of the similarities of the adult turtles aren't eaten by nearly as many things as the baby turtles are. The baby turtles, for some of the species, 97% of them are eaten by things before they can even become adults to breed. And so having those big adults in the wild, like Bill was saying, is so important. And that's why when they do get poached out of the wild as adults, it's so much more impactful for the species.
It's rough out there. Rough out there for everybody. Guys, that's all I've got. I don't know what else to ask, but if you have anything else to share as far as thoughts on caring for baby turtles or how darn cute they are, or just what it's like to share baby turtles with the hundreds of thousands of people who come to the aquarium every year and kind of pass on that love that the two of you have for turtles to the public. If you don't have anything else to add, I'm good. And we can wrap this episode up.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
I would like to say one more thing. Fungivore.
Come and look at the baby turtle nursery, but actually look at it. Come to the aquarium and stand in front of that turtle nursery and take in every single baby turtle that's out there. And if you see us out there, ask questions. Me and Bill actually spend time outside of the turtle nursery, at least 30 minutes a day on general. And if you see us there and have questions about baby turtles, please ask us. We're desperate for people to ask us good questions about turtles because, as you can tell, we kind of like them a little bit.
Just a bit.
They're pretty likable, to be fair. If you're listening to this and you have an idea for a future episode of the podcast Aquatic and would like to share it with me in the hopes that I will make an episode about it, please do send that to me at podcast@tnaqua.org. While you're online, write us a review, or if you're pressed for time and would still like to help us out, go ahead and leave us a rating. A 5-star rating would be excellent. And in the meantime, until next time, remember that every drop matters.